IG, Facebook. Excuse the lighting. I am on the road. Wasn't able to do FICO Friday last week, so wanted to make sure I could hop on here today. Today is Friday, November 1st, 2019. We got 2 months left, y'all. Give everybody a second to hop on. Excuse me. Like I say, for the background, I've been traveling all day today. I am actually in Jackson, Mississippi. Peace, King Armand. What's going on, bro? IG, Jay Morrison page, Facebook, King George, what up? King Justice, King Eric. Today's FICO Friday. King Robert out in Iraq. It is 3 a.m. What's going on? King Devin, what up? So today is November 1st, 2019. Today's FICO Friday is getting your business funded is not that hard. Want to really talk about that because I get so many people that reach out thinking this is a very difficult process, but it's not. Is it a little bit of tedious? Yes, it can be. But you got to remember, you're trying to take your business to the banks and you're asking them to give you hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So yes, there's going to be some things you got to do to position yourself. See, everything we do is all about positioning. All right? King Anwar, what up, man? And so everything is all about positioning. And I really want people to understand. It may take you 2 years to get in position. But what does it matter? Why would it matter if it took you 2 years to get in position for your company to be in position to get $50, $60, $70, $100,000 worth of capital for your business? Because I always tell people, how long would it take you to save $50,000? How long would it take you to save $20,000? And so we have to understand that we have to do what needs to be done to position ourselves because it will not be this easy forever. Okay? So, understanding, when positioning your business to get funding, your credit is the most important component. Your personal credit is the most important component. I want everybody to take notes, okay? Your personal credit is the most important component. Banks are going to grade you based off of your personal credit. Now, people are always coming to me saying, well, can I still go and get some capital for my business and just go and get some vendor accounts and this, that, and the third? No, you can't. The banks are not basing your approvals off of a paydex score. And the thing I'm always telling people, let's think about this from a logical standpoint. Why would a bank give you, let's just say even a $10,000 line of credit, and the most you've ordered was a $20 item on Quill trying to build an 80 score paydex? We have to understand, see, we're operating off of old information that is invalid, And so yes, granted, 3 years ago, that information, a portion of it was still legitimate, but now we have to operate off of new information, which is why it's important that you come to forums like this, which is why it's important you constantly educate yourself, why it's constantly important that you get mentorship, get coaching, or whatever you have to do to position yourself to get in front of the information. Because see, while we're still trying to operate off of old information, it's some new information, new technology being developed to further advance us, but we got to get positioned. And if we're not positioned, if we're not even getting ourselves in the game to get positioned today, when the information changes, we're that further behind. And so that's the thing that I always try to really share with people is that, because I get a lot of people when they come and reach out to us and they're not in position, they get upset and they take it personal. And I'm like, first of all, why take it personal? Just do what you got to do to get positioned. And it really doesn't, it's really nothing, it can be tedious. Let me not say that. But it's not anything that's difficult. We'll go out here and do things that is far more difficult than fixing our credit, far more difficult than building up our businesses, far more difficult than disciplining ourselves with our finances. See, a lot of times, a lot of us can't position ourselves properly from a credit standpoint because we're not disciplined from a financial standpoint, meaning we're over budgeted. We have more month at the end of our money. We overspend. If you come to us and saying you can't afford credit monitoring, but you're paying $300 for cable, that's a problem. You know, if you tell me you can't afford credit repair, but then you're tagging me on your page, or you in the Louis store, that's a problem. We have to change our thinking. And so understand that it's all about positioning, and getting the money is the easiest part, you know, but we got to do what we have to do to get in front of the trend, because I've been telling people this for a very long time. It will not be this easy with the banks forever. It will not be this easy. See, right now, literally from a funding, and I always like to use the word funding. I don't like the term business credit, because people take business credit and thinking, hey, I can just go use my EIN number, go to the bank and get all of this money. And that's not the case. Or you have people selling packages and programs where they tell you, hey, you don't have to use your social, and we're going to get you all this money. Yeah, you can get lines of credit, meaning you can go get that gas card, you can go get a WEX card, you can go and get, you know, a non-cash value credit card, but you can't use it for cash value. Meaning, I can't take my Home Depot card and pull the money off to go and do a transaction, unless it's a revolving credit card with a MasterCard or Visa logo on there. And so again, we need to start educating ourselves and stop being bamboozled by these gurus out here who are selling us these things that have no benefit to us. Okay? So now, I'm going to give you all some steps. And I know I've went over this in the past, but I want us to be so equipped with this information that we dream about how simple it is. Okay? So I talked about your personal credit. Yes, that's a major contributor of putting yourself in position to getting funding for your business. Next, you need to have a business. Yes, you want to have a business, an LLC, incorporation, S corp, it doesn't matter. Okay? Now, people ask me all the time, well, is this name going to discount me from getting funding? Go and Google companies that are high risk from a banking standpoint. The main two that I always just tell people to stay away from primarily is real estate and investments. Keep that out the title. Yes, you can use realtor, you can use properties, you can use homes. Just keep real estate and investments out of the company name. Some banks won't even let you open a bank account if they know you're a real estate investor. So this is why I always tell people why you want to not necessarily use real estate investor or real estate or investments or anything like that in the title of your company name. So those are the two components. Next thing is you want to make sure that your company is bank compliant. When you go through our Easy Funding program, we're going to give you all of the steps to make sure that you are bank compliant. Meaning, you can be denied credit from a bank by not having a fax number. You can potentially be denied credit by not having a website because they can't validate your business. So, is every single bank like that? Absolutely not. But as I shared with you guys about 2 weeks ago, I had a client who, because they could not validate his business being a legitimate business, they denied his line of credit that he was conditionally approved for $50,000. They went to do a search online, could not find his company online, and because he did not have a website or any online presence, they denied his application. This is why I tell people you want to have some form of an online presence. Okay? Now, some other parameters that go into the decision making when it goes to underwriting. I give you guys the surface level information. Okay? The underwriting process is they will look at your DTI. That stands for debt to income. Meaning, if you make $50,000 but your expenses are $49,000 for the year, your DTI is too high. And so the good thing about revolving credit is you can use stated and household income. Meaning you may make $50,000, but combined the household may do $115,000. So you can put that down, which hence lowers your debt to income ratio. Now, they have a way to calculate your debt to income ratio by pulling different information from places like LexisNexis, and they calculate the debt that is reporting on your credit reports. Okay. Now let's also talk about what's reporting on the credit reports when it comes to credit utilization, because we understand credit utilization plays a major impact on the decision making of an approval. A good debt to income ratio, depending on what you're trying to apply for, they typically don't want you to be over 50% of your DTI. Okay, your DTI typically 50% or less. All right, and every bank is going to be different, but that's kind of about the threshold that a lot of banks look for. And so What was I talking about? Yes, so some of the other things that they are also looking for from a funding standpoint is, like I mentioned, your DTI. They also look at your SIC codes, making sure your company is not in an industry that they consider high risk. So if you do have a company that is in real estate as a real estate investment company, I'm going to give you guys this one gem. Put yourself down as a property management company. That's a low risk industry, property management. Okay. Another thing I want to mention is, and I talked about this on the Easy Funded Mentorship call a couple days ago, Wednesday, is that we as entrepreneurs, we as small business owners, we have to stop filing taxes and expensing everything. Meaning, if you made $100,000 for the year, but you wrote off $80,000, your cash flow for the year was only $20,000. That is going to come back to hurt you, because one, if you go and you're trying to refinance an investment property, your what they call your global income is only $20,000. You just hurt yourself. From a funding standpoint, when you're trying to get business lines of credit, the bank will only give you 10 to 30% of your cash flow. So, yes, we're going to have to start paying taxes on our businesses. And I get it. We're trying to mitigate paying the least amount, which is fine. But this is why you got to have a tax specialist. No knock against, just going to the big box tax places, but you need to get with someone who understands the tax strategies from a lending standpoint. It's a completely different ball game. And I always tell people, if we're going to just keep saying we only made $20,000, well, we must plan on not ever trying to qualify for anything. We need to be proud to put down how much we made for the year. Yes, we're going to have to start paying, but this is why we need to understand business and start paying quarterly taxes. See, I could have just a whole FICO Friday just about the tax game. And so understanding that we have to stop expensing everything, because it will come back to bite us. And then when we're going out here and we're trying to show people how to get business lines of credit and they're coming back with a $3,000 approval, that's why. Your company hasn't made any money. And banks, more and more banks from a business standpoint for a business line of credit will usually ask for financials. But again, with our coaching, with our easy funding, we're going to show you the strategies around those things. But this is why you have mentorship. This is why you have experts who have done it. We've had clients who've had 4 or 5 companies. We've sent every single company through and gotten some capital. But we got to get positioned first. We got to do the groundwork. We got to lay the foundation. You can't build a house on shaky ground. You can't build a house on a loose foundation. So we got to lay the foundation. And unfortunately, sometimes the foundation does take a little bit longer to get laid. But when you lay it right the first time, you never have to do it again. And that's the good thing about, what we're going to show you. All right. So we talked about, I want to make sure my laptop doesn't die. So we want to make sure that we got the personal credit in position. We got the entity set up. We make sure that the entity is bank compliant. We want to understand what our DTI looks like. What if your business in Wyoming, as far as taxes? It doesn't matter where your business is at. Doesn't matter. You want to make sure you have you want to understand where your DTI is at. We want to make sure that our credit utilization is low. Oh, that's what I was going to talk about, credit utilization. Now, I understand, and I see this happen a lot. People will go and try to buy trade lines to bring their utilization down. But keep in mind, when you're going for funding, the banks want to see your individual primary accounts at 30% or less. Okay? Now let's talk about this 30% or less. That's the bar, meaning someone who's at 10% is going to get more capital than someone who's at 30%. 30% means you just made it. Okay? And I really want to say that because sometimes people get upset and they're like, I'm at 30%. Why didn't I get the approvals I wanted? Well, because you just made the cut. You have to understand, the banks can do and change the rules however they want. So this is again why we got to be properly positioned. So your debt to income ratio needs to be at 30% or less. I used to tell people 10%, but I understand sometimes you're just trying to get in the game, and 30% is about where the banks will allow you to start actually being able to do something. But again, remember, each card has to be at 30% or less. You can't add a bunch of trade lines to bring your usage down, or doing balance transfers. Now, if you can do a balance transfer to wash away some of the usage to where you're across the board 30% or less, that will help. But from an overall standpoint, each individual card needs to be at 30% or less. All right. Can you use trade lines to get funding with a thin file? Yes. You can use trade lines if you have a thin file by using the age of the file. Now, you're not going to get a huge amount, and this is the other thing I want people to understand. Yes, you may not get $50,000 your first round, but who cares? Funding is a long-term process. You know, we have to stop getting upset because things didn't go our way right away. Well, you didn't have access to $10,000 prior to going through funding, so why would you be upset if you only got $25,000? It's a building process. You know, and a lot of us are trying to go in and purchase real estate and start these businesses, and we know nothing about business. You know, I tell every single last one of my coaching clients, they say, well, what's the first thing I should be working on? Understanding business, not just the real estate, because the real estate is simple. We need to understand business, and that's what, no matter what area of an industry that we're going to go into, we need to start understanding business. Okay? All right. Absolutely. Something is better than nothing. 100%. Something is better than nothing. I mean, my first round of funding, I got like $40,000. It was primarily personal credit, but that's what got me back in the game. See, I always share my story. One of my first business investments, I failed miserably. Put up $40,000 that I pulled from my 401k, lost all of that, got sued civilly, cost me $80,000 in legal fees, and I didn't know what else to do. But I started focusing on the business. And in my upcoming book that's dropping next month, I talk about that story in depth of one of the reasons why that business failed. I didn't learn about business. Okay? And so I started learning about the power of leveraging my credit, got about 40-something thousand, and that got me back in the game. So again, yes, you don't have to get 100,000 right away. Most of us would get 100,000 in capital and wouldn't know what to do with it anyway. So we have to understand that it's a process, and that's why I always say funding is a process, not an overnight process. And when we truly take the time to learn the game, learn about business, learn about, King Robert said he'll take 10,000. Absolutely. Learn the steps that it takes to get to that next level, because it's all about taking those steps. It's all about taking steps. We level up one step at a time. All right. So getting funding is not as hard as we make it seem. It can just be a lot of steps, or our credit is in complete ruins and we're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get this funding? This is why we talk about credit strategies such as having a funding partner. Meaning, see, this is why I love this industry. You can have a person that's a family member, a spouse, a cousin, a relative, or just someone who you met at a networking event. And as long as they have great credit, now remember, they have to buy into your vision. They have to buy into your vision. Some of us visions don't align with what we portray. And so if someone is not willing to buy into your vision, that may mean we need to work on self for someone to believe in why they should put their credit up for you. Okay, so with that being said, this is the power of credit. You can take someone who can be a business partner that eventually is a credit partner. You add them onto your company, and now you can take that company to the banks and go and get some capital. And whatever you guys decide on the splits of the profits or whatever, you guys can do that. That's powerful. Think about it. This is why I said it's so simple. You can have nothing today and be in the game in the next 30 days. You can have nothing today and have built 2 multi-million-dollar companies in the next 2 to 3 years. And people get upset because it'll take them 2 to 3 years. How long will it take you to hit your goals doing exactly what you're doing today without any new learned information, any new strategies, any information on the power of leveraging or any of that? So again, we have to understand that True wealth is built slowly. Yes, it's going to take some time, but that foundation is going to take time in order for you to do it the proper way. Yes, 40 years. And after 40 years, you still haven't made it stand on the current plan that they've sold us on. I mean, think about this. I remember this is one of the reasons I dropped out of college. All right. And I'm never telling, and I'm not against education, but I am against educating myself. You know, I always say I never let schooling get in the way of my education. So even when I dropped out of college, I always continued to educate myself. But when I sat down and I was reading something, and I was like, okay, so they want me to work 40 years to try to make it off of 100% of the income that company is going to pay me, then eventually retire, get 40% of the 100% I couldn't make it off of when I was getting 100% of the income. Think about that. You're getting a percentage, you're getting about 40% of the income you make when you retire, and they expect us to live off of that, even though we could barely live off the 100% we was making while we was at the job. This is why we got to get new information. This is why I believe everybody should learn entrepreneurship. Not saying everyone has to be an entrepreneur, but we should always have other skills under our belt. We should always have other skills under our belt, because one of the things that saved me was the fact that I learned the power of sales. A lot of people are scared of sales, but we sell things all the time and get nothing in return. How many of us have convinced somebody to go see a movie that we thought was great, and that company didn't send me a check or you a check? See, we convince people all the time to do things. And sales isn't necessarily about convincing, but I believe when you learn sales, you learn other strategies that are tangible that you could take with you no matter what walk of life you're in. And so just understanding that we should all learn some form of entrepreneurship, because it's about leveraging. Leveraging meaning leveraging multiple streams of income. You know, even when I had my 9-to-5, I was always still looking at ways to make more money, because I understood that just this one path of income, if that one income stopped, meaning if that company closed down, if that boss developed a gambling habit and went out of business, if I got sick and lost that one singular income, what was I going to do? What was my family going to do? But if while I'm working my job, you know, financing my living, I'm also going to sell something on eBay. I'm going to start a marketing company building websites. Think about how powerful this is. A lot of the things that you can do, you really don't even have to be the one that do it. I'll give you an example. I can remember when I used to work for selling internet yellow page ads, and I started to learn a little bit about online marketing. So what I would do is I would offer marketing and website building. I wasn't building the websites. I wasn't doing the SEO. I would go online and find freelancers who could build it and mark the price up. So if I found someone who would charge me $300 to build a website, I'm going to charge $600 for doing nothing but just getting the clients. I see somebody put on here Toro. Yes, I've purchased multiple vehicles and I put them on Toro. I booked a new client on my way out here to Mississippi. So yes, there's ways that we can make money. I've talked to people who told me, hey, I'm thinking about surrendering my car. That's still a repo. It's just the FYI, even if you surrender it. If you can't afford it, put your vehicle on Toro. Rent it out. At least get your power back so you don't have to turn that vehicle in and get a repossession on your record. Start making a profit. And you may only rent it out half the month. The rest of the month, you've secured the payment for that vehicle. So it's always ways that we can leverage, okay? And I really want people to understand we have to learn business first, okay? So I'll open it up for some Q&A for some people. Working on my fortune, absolutely. Absolutely. We got to get that mindset right. Team Winter, yes, I love that mindset. All right. What's the minimum credit score needed to get funded? Queen Whitney, you need a minimum 680, but that is only one prerequisite. That is only one prerequisite, all right? If there's a such thing as a weak 700 score versus a strong 700 score, what are the factors that determine that? So a weak 700 credit score could be Someone has one thing reporting on their credit report, it's a $300 credit card, versus someone who has a strong 700 credit score and they have multiple lines of credit, they have some installment accounts, their file is an average of 7 to 10 years in age. That's the difference. Can you refer a good tax person or CPA? Yes, send me a message and I'll get you in touch with some of the best of the best. These are people that I only co-sign. Toro hating on my 15-passenger van. Queen Charmaine. Hey, sometimes they do it. Rent it out somewhere else. There's actually a website, and I forgot the name. I think it's called Hire Car, where people rent your vehicles to drive for Lyft and Uber. So, I mean, it's always ways to make money. I mean, you can go and buy some smart cars for $4,000. I mean, I've had a coaching client that I told that about. He got about, I want to say probably about $30,000 or $40,000 when they bought 5 smart cars, spent about $4,000 a piece. Okay? And rented those out. They stay rented out. And so, now understand, Toro may not be as lucrative in every market, so you definitely want to check your local market. All right. Can I purchase a 4-unit property using my VA loan or FHA, then transfer it to my business entity? They can only transfer the title, but you will still be the lien holder. And so, typically, an FHA property or something like that, they will not let you put under an entity. All right. I was told since I don't have a mortgage that my credit isn't established enough. Now, having a mortgage does help, but that doesn't mean you can't get funding for your business. So somebody who told you that don't know what they're talking about. Who do you refer to rebuild credit? I'm going to refer to this guy named Will. He's actually pretty cool. So Thad1227, send us a message and we can get you in touch with the team and help you get back positioned, because that credit is going to help you ensure that you get a position for funding. Before I go for credit increases, should I pay down each credit card under 30%? Yes, because some of the banks will not let you get a credit limit increase if your credit limits are over 30%. I haven't heard him give us fake news yet. I appreciate that. Thank you. What do you think of 401ks? I mean, it depends on what you're using them for. 401ks can definitely be, especially if your company is going to match it. You know, get that free money. Show money anyway, definitely. How long must you be in business to get a line of credit? Good question. So, I want everybody to write this down because I get this question a lot. There's a difference between a business line of credit and a business credit card. A business credit card, you can get immediately once the ink dries with the Secretary of State for your company. A business line of credit, it got to be 2 years. Okay? Business line of credit is completely different. How to get funding without using my personal credit? You have to. That is not possible. The banks will only recommend you use your personal credit unless your company is doing 10 to 20 million in revenue. You have P&Ls, balance sheets, tax returns, all that good stuff. All right. My mortgage isn't listed under mortgage on my credit report. It's listed as an installment loan. Does that matter? A mortgage is an installment, so yes, as long as it's an installment, you're fine, because the banks and all of that can decipher if it's a mortgage or not. Short pay refinance mortgage, is it a good option? Short pay refinance. Not sure what that means. Please, if you can, I'm not 100% sure what that means. Is it better to buy a truck in the business tax ID or get the money and use that to purchase the truck using that money? So it depends. Now, I always tell people that when you purchase a vehicle under your company, typically the interest rate is going to be a little bit higher. So it's always going to be dependent on what your budget is. Now, some banks will allow you to purchase solely under your tax EIN number. And a lot of times the banks are pulling what's called a paynet. Paynet, a paynet. All right. With that paynet, they will allow you to sometimes purchase. But again, remember, usually the interest rate is higher and the insurance typically will be a little higher. So if you have it in your budget, by all means, definitely go and get that going. And a lot of times people like to do that because you can keep the debt off your personal credit. I have 3 partners with thin files. What should be my first step? So the first thing I would do is get a credit evaluation, which we do. offer, because that credit evaluation, even though they have a thin file, we need to know why it's thin and make sure it's nothing lingering, no derogatories, any of that reporting on there. Can I get charge-offs removed from my file? Queen Whitney, yes, you can. Just as if you would do a collection account. What do you think about tax lien certificates? King Richard, I don't have any. If you know how to work them, knock yourself out. That is not a particular strategy that myself and my team does. But if that's something that you're versed with, definitely go and rock out with that. Just want letting everyone know that the inquiry removal works. King Tyrone, appreciate you. Yes, we actually just got you in the game, King. All right, let's see. I notice collection companies can no longer sue or report to credit bureaus for old debt. They can't do that anyway, especially if the debt is past the statute of limitations. In the collection agency can't sue you anyway. It has to be the original creditor. All right. For the funding fee, do I need to pay that up front, or is billed after the funding? Is billed after the funding, because we wouldn't know what you would be billed for. All right. I am looking to use my residency as my business address. Any advice? If you have to do that, you definitely can. The banks are being a little bit more liberal when it comes to that. Will a late payment account hurt me for getting funding? It could, especially if your score dropped tremendously. All right. How long is the statute of limitations? It depends. It actually varies from state to state and depends on the type of debt you have. In my new ebooks, the credit repair template, essential and elite, I have the breakdown for every single statute of limitations for every single state. So I recommend you go and pick that up. All right. Let's see. How long does a repo stay on your credit? I was a co-signer. It can stay on there up to 7 years, or depending on that state, but typically 7 years from the last date of activity. Excuse me, which is why I tell people, let's not co-sign for vehicles. Somebody asks me to co-sign, I'm going to say, why are you not fixing your credit? Okay? Because remember, usually somebody with bad credit is going to put down 30% of the down payment of the vehicle. Why not just go fix your credit? So that's what I tell people. Can you get business lines of funding with a new LLC? No. You can get business credit cards, but not business lines of credit. What if my scores are still high with the one late account that's closed? Again, the banks don't look at scores. Now, that doesn't mean you won't get approvals. It just potentially means that your approvals may not be as strong. And we've had people still get funded with the late payment on there. So it's just a matter of what it's reporting on. Because some banks are more tedious than others. But again, I always tell people, when one bank tell you no, so what? Let's go to another one. There's thousands of banks. I have a list of 3,500 banks that we use. So, not every single bank is going to tell you no. Not every single bank. Like, there's some banks, they go back 20 years for a bankruptcy, which is ridiculous, but that's their rules. And so we just choose not to use that bank if we ever have someone who's ever filed bankruptcy in the past 20 years. My mom can't get a cosign from me. I heard that. I told my moms, look, if you need me to cosign for you, something went really bad because you should have been paying attention. Okay. All right. So, all right. How long does it take for a hard inquiry to reflect? How long does it take for a hard inquiry to reflect on your score? Usually a hard inquiry will hit your credit right away. All right. Have you ever heard of keys for cash? I have. Usually they give you cash for moving out, and that typically depends on if you're the renter and the landlord is about to lose the property. I mean, it varies from different city to city. I joined late. Will this be available to listen later? Yes, if IG lets me save this, it will be up on my YouTube, which if you are not subscribed to my YouTube, Mr. Will Roundtree, make sure you go subscribe. We got a gang of old FICO Fridays listed on there. All right, and it will also still be on the page for 24 hours. I appreciate that. Thank you, Ben Cole. How many banks would you try with the first round? It depends. I mean, I've sent people to as many as 12 banks, and that's because we can get the inquiries removed. I always tell people, I don't even care about inquiries. Usually my clients, once they see the power of getting their inquiries removed, they stop caring. It's when you're going out there getting a bunch of denials and don't know what you're doing and don't know how to clean up the inquiries. That's when they hurt. But I mean, we have a program right now, unlimited inquiry removal for 12 months. My business entrepreneurs who really about that funding life, they love that process because they can go out there, do what they got to do, come back at any time, get those inquiries cleaned up. So we have a new program, unlimited inquiry removal. For more information and details, make sure you reach out to us, and I will have my team reach out to you and get you that information. Will inquiries attached to open accounts close that account? No. We understand what the process to making sure and ensuring that they don't close the account. Now, there are a couple different financial institutions that we will not dispute, but I always tell people, typically, when we go and clean up the inquiries, we typically go for about 95 to 97%. We keep a few on just to keep the file looking kind of seasoned. And so, but again, we know exactly what the file needs to look like before we send you the funding. So if that's something that you're concerned about, just make sure to reach out to us. Yes, the unlimited inquiry removal. Reach out to us. Send me an instant message, and I will make sure that the team can reach out to you for that. We actually had 3 people sign up for that this week, and they were like, "Man, I wish you guys had this last year." And I'm like, well, we're just starting to see the demand. More and more people are starting to understand the power of cleaning up your inquiries. Like, think about that. Think about how powerful that is. King Frank, I know you know how powerful this is. Think about it. As a business owner or someone who is running a company, you always are constantly having to apply for credit, whether it's for a building, whether you need a new credit card, whether you're trying to open a bank account. And you can have an 800 credit score, but if you got 10 inquiries just over the past 12 months, the next time you go try to apply for credit, they'll deny you. So imagine how powerful it is that anytime you need to be able to go and get your inquiries cleaned up, you can go and get some more money. Because keep in mind, you never stop applying for credit. My main company is 6 years old, and I'm still always applying for capital. When I find out a bank comes out with a new product, I'll go and apply for 5 different products from one bank. So understand that I'm just looking to create my own bank. So this way, no matter what it is I want to go and purchase, what I want to go and invest in, no matter what it is, I'm already positioned. See, we have to stop going to find something to do, then go get the capital, because then we're operating out of a place of desperation. And when we operate out of a place of desperation, we get sloppy. And then it doesn't work the way we want it to work, and we get mad and we posting reviews about, hey, this stuff don't work. No, you just didn't work it the proper way. We want to wait till the last minute. We want to wait till 2 months before our lease is up and try to go buy a house, but we got a 400 credit score. You should have been working on that 12 months prior. And this is how we have to start understanding with business. If I know I'm going to, even if I'm not sure what type of business I'm going to go into, I'm going to be positioning myself today. So when I am ready, when the opportunity presents itself, when I'm in position, King Justice, he came to us 12 months prior, got his funding, an opportunity landed right in the palm of his hands, and he was able to put up some capital to invest in a project where he didn't even have to do anything, and he got a 56% return on his money. But that's because he positioned himself 9 months prior. Remember, you don't always have to be the one that's doing the going through the process. King Justice invested, and just to keep it 100, he invested in a property that we were already doing a fix and flip on. He invested, put his money up, and was able to get access to getting 56% return on his money in 120 days. But that's because he did the work, the groundwork, and he positioned himself 9 months prior. So again, this is why I'm so big on positioning. Can you get the inquiry removed even if you got the account? Yes, King B, you can. Kimberly, let me know if you still can't hear me. Can y'all hear me on Facebook? Somebody said they can't hear me. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Absolutely. All right. How do we get access to the unlimited inquiry removal? Just send me a message and I'll have my team reach out to you. King Al B, what's going on, man? I'm actually in the SIP right now, man. Drive up. All right. How long does it take to get flip loans? I'm not sure what you mean by a flip loan. And it depends on your credit, if you got a deal. Remember the type of bank you're going through, it could vary. Do banks disregard financial aid in reference to DTI? Very good question. Some banks actually do, from a business credit standpoint, take out DTI when it comes to student loans, believe it or not. So that was a very good question. Very good question. All right, can I get easy funding with the new LLC? Geechee, yes you can. Yes you can. A flip loan. I'm assuming they're talking about a loan to do a flip. So that's what I'm assuming. Crypto Million LLC. I think that's what you're talking about. I need help with my credit. Tierra Marie 31. Reach out to us. I can plug you with somebody who's very, very good at credit. All right. Let me see. What else we got? Come on, y'all. I need y'all to give me some hard questions. No, I'm just playing. Y'all coming up with some good ones, though. What if my credit score is low? What happens if I get repo off my credit? What can I work with? I'm not sure what you can work with, but getting that repo off will definitely help your credit tremendously. How many lines do you need on a credit file to be positioned? It's not necessarily about how many lines. It's about what the file looks like, which is why sometimes it pays to get a credit analysis. I need help with my credit. Crown Intellect 86. Make sure you send us a message and we can get you in touch with some of the best of the best. What banks are good to start with the opening a business bank account? I always say just go to any bank is good. I would find one that doesn't have a bunch of junk fees, but all banks are solid. King Anwar, you're asking Chase, Sapphire, Reserve, or Amex? It depends. Me personally, I'm a huge Amex fan, but it depends on what the perks are. I like the Amex Platinum because of the perks from a travel standpoint. Chase has some good perks, but they're not as good as the Amex. So it really just depends. And then you also got to remember the annual fee. You know, if you're a business and your business isn't making a lot of money, is it worth paying $500 for an annual fee on the Platinum? I'm not sure what the Chase Sapphire charges, which I actually have a Chase, but I don't use it as much as my Amex. All right, going through a debt settlement, how do I rebuild my credit? You have to finish the debt settlement first. Make sure you finish that first. All right. What kind of loan can I get to start a small business? Go sign up for Easy Funding. I can tell you right now, getting a small business loan, you have a better chance hitting the lottery. Very difficult. Just got a secure credit card $500 limit. What best way to use it? Very good, and congrats. What I would do is just use it for small things, gas, little charges, $30 or less just to pay it and just so you can build up and show some payment history. Do you offer mentoring? Yes, Queen Whitney, we do. How do you dispute a closed account? Charles J.M., hopefully you got my ebook. I have a ton of letters in there that will help you and show you and even give you the verbiage to dispute a closed account. Queen Lavy, joined late. Yes. Why don't you tell them how you got to that 700? Queen Lavy is in the building. All right. How long does it take after you get positioned before you can get funding? King Robert, come on, man. You really asking that question? Like, it depends on where you are. I just need you to send us the proper paperwork, King. All right. And you right there. Your big toe is almost across the finish line. All right. Duncan Elite just got a $10,000 Discover card. How long do I have to wait to apply for more? Good job. You can apply right now, but it depends on how many inquiries you have. So you may need to do an inventory on that. Can you answer my question? Morning Dawn, I didn't see it. So, again, if I don't see you guys' question, you got to remember, I'm looking at 3 screens. And instead of saying, can I answer the question, just retype the question, and eventually I'll get to it. So, Morning Dawn, please just resend the question again. What are the qualifications for easy funding? Golden, please go to our website, useeasyfunding.com, and it will give you all of that information on how to get of what the qualifications are. How much is to enroll in Easy Funding? It's right now they have a promo if you sign up for the RBCs, which everybody should be signed up for that. Understanding our real estate business and credit, the Path 3, you can get it. It's included for the $9.99 RBC curriculum. Do you recommend Liquidate? Yes, I co-signed them. Matter of fact, I know the president very well. Matter of fact, I'm supposed to be going out to go meet with him soon. Can you be in check systems and get funding? Yes, you can. Depends on if you go into a bank that has you in check systems. You just can't apply and get anything from that bank. Is easy funding separate from credit repair? Yes, it is. Completely separate. Could I still keep the age of my student loans and remove the debt? No. If you remove the debt, you lose the history. What time does Flipology 101 boot camp starts? November 8th through 10th. I think it's on the website. Yes. Anybody who is in Atlanta, I will be in Atlanta, Georgia next week with the boot camp, Flipology 101 boot camp. Anybody who is in real estate, want to learn more about real estate, you do not want to miss this event. This will be thrown by the legend King Ramon Tooks, my brother, my big OG and mentor in the game. I have many, but definitely make sure, and if you want tickets, send me a message. I'll send you the link to the website, but I will be there for the weekend. And I'll actually be in Atlanta for about a week or so, getting some business done. So I'll be over at the JMA offices. So anybody who is in the ATL next week, make sure you pull up. And just know I like steak if you want to take me to lunch. All right. Let me see. Ding is approval. And what's the coaching process? Waterproof 12. Not sure what you mean by that. Antoine_up. Please answer. Not sure what you asked me, family. Remember, I'm looking at 3 screens, so sometimes I might miss it. Who ready? Let's link. That's right. Who ready? RBCs is the truth. King Kendall, what's going on with you, man? Can you begin coaching as soon as funding is approved? Yes, you can. And the coaching is going to depend. So, Waterproof, send a message and we can get you that information. When would consider bankruptcy? Very good question. The only time I tell the client I will consider it is if my wages are being garnished. Outside of that, I'm going to fight it. I'll dispute my credit, all that stuff. If I'm not being sued, then I'm going to rock out and try to escape it. And I learned that from my own personal experience. When I moved to Las Vegas, I had 2 repos. I owed every single bank that was in existence at that time. And I just cleaned up my credit, and so understand that a lot of times these bankruptcy attorneys are just trying to get the fee. I mean, I had somebody who filed bankruptcy for less than $1,000 and the bankruptcy was more than what they owed. And so we just got to be careful. Need that 20% down. Yes, 20% for that investment property. Can late payments be removed? On open accounts, they can be very difficult, but you want to make sure that you at least try the goodwill letter. When should I start credit card funding? As soon as your business is open. I'm vegan, but if you come to New York, I got you on that steak. Geechee, absolutely. I'm going to hold you to that too, all right? Hey, I'll go to a good vegan restaurant too. King Justice says steaks and Patron. That's right. All right. Is the RBC a one-time fee or annual? It's one time. RBC is a one-time fee. Are these the steps? RBC, Credit Counsel, and Easy Funding. Well, those aren't necessarily steps, but those are the things that we need to do to get positioned. Can we use Easy Funding to bring to our city for a pop-up? Absolutely. Absolutely. You can use your funding for whatever. That's the power of the funding. It's non-discretionary. All right. Greatest thing about this is you have been where some of us are. Yeah, absolutely. Trust me. Everything you guys are going through, I've been there. I failed many times. Many times. Still failing things. But it's how you handle it when you go through that failure. We got to get back up. We ain't got to even announce it to the world. You know what I'm saying? We just got to go back out. And that's the thing. Like, you got to be resilient. You got to be consistently consistent. And just continue to go out there and get busy. I'm telling you, it's easy, y'all. It's easy. We're getting inquiries off. You should keep open accounts on, right? We can dispute the open account inquiries, but we know which ones to stay away from. Why don't all of the bureaus delete the same accounts? Because they don't talk to each other and they have different processes. And believe it or not, when you're disputing your account, sometimes they don't even put the dispute in dispute process. So sometimes you have to dispute something multiple times. Just don't go buy 100 pair of red Jordans unless you're going to flip them. Now, if you're a shoe broker, that's different. But if you're getting them just to post online and say, look at my outfit, then yeah, that's pretty corny. All right. Can multiple members of an entity get funded at once? I wouldn't recommend getting multiple members on one entity because you can only get, they're going to primarily use the one primary person, but anybody who has more than 20% ownership of the company, they can pull their credit. So what I always recommend is that set up multiple companies, maximize your funding opportunities, set up multiple companies. Yes, the RBC is a one-time fee. All right, Morning Dawn, I see your question. I had almost an 800 credit. One of my credit cards had a zero balance for a while, so the bank lowered my limit and it tanked. I absolutely have to carry a balance on all my cards. You don't have to, but I always tell people, one, you probably didn't have enough credit, which is why your score tanked. And two, I always tell people, use your cards for minimal things. And it depends on how long the card been dormant. So, I mean, I use my cards sometimes for gas, going to the grocery store, like things that I typically am going to pay cash for and not just pay it back right away. What do you think about shelf corps? It depends. Because understand, sometimes you can pay for a shelf corp, but if you have to get a new EIN number, the banks is going to go based upon when that EIN number was established. So you potentially just wasted all of that money. In business, what does net 30 mean when it comes to building business credit? So a net 30 just means you have 30 days to pay back a vendor. And the net 30 accounts are, I'm just going to keep it 100. They're worthless when it comes to building your business credit because banks are no longer using a paydex score as a barometer for approving you accounts or credit. With credit restoration, if the profile is not where it should be within a year, do I need to reinvest in the credit repair? It depends on who the credit agency is. It depends on who the credit agency is, and it depends on if you had new accounts hit the credit report while going through the credit repair. All right. What is the purpose of mortgage insurance? If your investment property burns down, you're gonna have to pay to fix it. You get insurance because then the insurance can cover that cost. How do you liquidate credit cards? It's a process. You can use a merchant account. Just make sure you don't use your own merchant for your own cards. I have 2 charge-offs on a credit card, but they are offering me to pay half, but I'm not sure those charge-offs will remain. Yes, if you do a settlement, they will still stay on your credit, Queen Whitney. Just created an investment business and wanting to take HELOC and make the money work and grow. Any recommendations? Miss Millie 1. I definitely am a fan of a HELOC. Depends on also what you're going to use the money for. So that's definitely a good strategy. Actually, just had a client who is getting a HELOC right now that is going to be used for a down payment on a on a portfolio, which means there's multiple properties in the portfolio that they will be purchasing. All right. Could I remove one late payment without closing the account? It depends on the bank and the institution, which is why I always tell people I recommend trying a goodwill letter, especially if you just have one late on an account that you've had in good standing for a while. Mortgage insurance pays the bank in the event that you default and are unable to... Oh, okay, yeah, mortgage insurance. I was thinking about property insurance. Yes, mortgage insurance, PMIs. When you have an FHA, that's what that is for, which is why a lot of people don't like going through FHA because it typically adds on to the payment. What is the best way to build business credit? Start by building your personal credit. You get your personal credit up, getting business credit is simple. Look, family, be patient with the credit repair. It works. I'm enrolled in it and easy funding since May. I love that. Yes, see, that's the thing. Sometimes we're not patient. And this is the thing I tell people, because sometimes people will get set up, they'll get started with credit repair, call me 2 weeks later, where am I at? What's the next step? What I got to do? How do I get? I'm like, yo, you've had bad credit for 30 years. Like, let's take our time. No disrespect, but we have to understand it's a process. We're literally going and trying to get debt that you technically owe off your report. Like, sometimes it just takes some time. All right. Will they use a business credit card that's not showing up on your credit report? Yes, because a business credit card doesn't show on your personal credit unless it's Capital One Sparks. That is the only one that I know of. That's the only one that I know of that shows up on the personal. What about business credit without no PG? It's not practical anymore. There's one company called Brex Credit where you can get a credit line without a personal guarantor. But guess what? You have to be $100,000 liquid. That's the only way you can get approved for that. So if you don't have $100,000 in the bank, Brex is not going to approve you. Or you can go and apply for a company like Cabbage, Fundbox, that does not pull your credit. But I want everybody to go to those websites, Cabbage, and look and see what the average interest rate is. 30 to 90%. So we're all, again, and not saying you particularly, but I get people that are always trying to cut corners and then go and get a line of credit with Cabbage, didn't read the fine print. They just got happy because they didn't have to use their personal guarantor. Get approved for maybe $30,000 and your monthly payments are $4,000 a month. That's how companies go bankrupt. All right. How much is RBCs? They have 3 different plans. Go to www.jmorrisonacademy.com to get the information on what the cost is, or the investment. I hate to use the word cost. It's an investment. Kennedy, what's going on, stranger? All right. How do we go about getting our credit inquiries knocked off after the fact we paid some of them off? Credit inquiries, you typically don't pay to pay. Those are what you get when you apply for credit. And so our company does offer inquiry removal service. How many secure cards should you have to build your credit? I particularly don't think you need to get a bunch of them. It depends on what your credit looks like. And keep in mind, a secure credit card does not help every single situation. I'm going to give you guys this one last thing because I've got 3 minutes left. Let's say you have $50,000 in credit card debt. Your usage is 90-something%. Getting a $500 secure credit card does nothing because you have to get the rest of the utilization down before it can even benefit, for your credit. All right. Can I start with fix and flips using an FHA? No. Usually FHA, it has to be owner occupied. How much is the service? Depends on what service you're talking about. I'm in RBC now, coming easy funding early December. Sleepy LaFleur, I believe that's what it is. Yes, we'd be looking forward to working with you. With $2,000 in debt, is credit repair a wise option? It depends if you have derogatory items. If it's just debt, then no. Can you remove verified collections from a credit bureau? Yes. That just means just because they verified it doesn't mean they validated it. They just sent you back some paperwork saying that they saw it on the report. 20K3 hold for 12 months. Not sure what that question is. Will it be difficult to get funding for a holding company? No, as long as it's an LLC. A holding company is just means it owns all your other businesses. That's all that means. All right, so it looks like I got 2 minutes left. How banks know if you live in an FHA home? Because it is the banks will know. Well, it's not that the banks will know. When you're applying for funding, when they go and pull, depending on the systems that they're pulling from, they'll be able to see that. And then also, too, when you file your taxes. All right. Who do I go to get violations for Fair Credit Reporting Act? It depends. You can actually sue if you feel you're being violated. So you can find an attorney. If you reach out to me, I'll actually get you an attorney that does fight those cases for free. Free 99, they'll fight the case if you're being violated. All right. So, looks like we're wrapping up on time. Again, I appreciate y'all, family. I told y'all, as long as I'm not on a plane, I still try to make sure and hop on and do FICO Friday. And so, make sure if you have not done so, go to my YouTube and subscribe, Mr. Will Roundtree. Again, if you have not purchased the ebook, you're doing yourself a disservice. Go to creditisKingBook.com. If you need funding for your business, reach out to us. Remember, unlimited inquiry removal, a new product that we're offering. Reach out to us. Get as many inquiries you want to get disputed over the course of 12 months. And for everyone who pre-ordered my new book, Full-Time CEO, the shit they don't tell you about, it is finally done. Finished the last edit, so it should be wrapped up and coming out mid-November. So be on the lookout for that. The first top 100 pre-orders, your name will be in the book, and I will be personally saluting you. So again, family, I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for supporting the movement. I will be back with Q&A Wednesday next Wednesday. And again, if you are in the Atlanta area next week, make sure you go and register for Flipology 101 Boot Camp, and I will see y'all soon. All right, King Robert, I see your 100th email in my inbox, King. I got you, man. All right, family. Peace.